Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to talk about how to work with polarity responders. Ooh. And polarity responders can be so much fun. Well, let's take a step back first. What is a polarity responder? A polarity responder is an NLP term for what we would typically call in hypnosis the resistant client. This is the person who says yes, but. This is the person who, no matter what suggestion you give, no matter what you say, they're going to find a way to argue against it. So you could give some awesome piece of neuroscience in a metaphor as a part of a pre-frame or something, and they will find the one instance that it's not true. For most clients, this is a really unconscious behavior. So unless they're trying to one-up you, like we talked about in another video, or they have some fear or trepidation, which we also talked about, for a pure polarity responder, this is unconscious. Everybody else is going to be tied up in some other aspect, a much bigger aspect of the problematic behavior. For the pure polarity responder, though, this is just who they are. They like to engage with ideas, and then they like to find the example that proves it wrong. It's a unique and creative way of thinking, and it's a really awesome skill set to have. So if you have a client who's a polarity responder, they might seem really tough at first because they're going to counter whatever you suggest. That's fine, because that is going to be one of their biggest assets for change. So here's some ways that you can address it. The kind of the bulldozer way is to bring it to conscious awareness in a very direct way. And we don't do it accusingly, because if you do it accusingly, they're going to go, hey, I'm not a polarity responder. You'll trigger the polarity response. Instead, you can tease them about it. You can say, look, I'm going to tell you this story, but I know you're going to find the example that's going to counter it. So I don't even know why I'm going to, but go ahead and find the example anyway. And then when you tell whatever story or metaphor, just make sure you use lots of embedded suggestion. It's always my nice fallback with difficult clients. So you can address it that way and tease them about it. You want to eventually bring the polarity response on board as a tool, just like we did with the analytical thinker. So what you're going to want to do is, line this up in terms of, well, if they found exceptions to the rule for everything you've said, they can find exceptions to the rule for the problem that they think is real. So you gotta become really curious as a practitioner. If this person has this behavior as an unconscious part of just who they are, as a part of their neurodrivers, why aren't they applying it to the problem? It would be really useful there. So you might want to teach them how to apply it to the problem. The next thing that you're going to do with it, if you want to do more formal hypnosis, is use it as an induction. We have an induction that we like to call the not induction. And it could be the not induction like no, or it could be the not induction because it tends to tie conscious minds in knots. And it's a really fun one to do, and it's fairly quick. So the idea is, what you want to do is you want to set it up where you're going to give a verbal suggestion to the client, and their job is to repeat the suggestion back, but as they repeat it back, they have to put a not and a pause right after that not before finishing the suggestion. So for example, if I give the suggestion, if you were playing at home and I was the hypnotist, I might say, you're feeling very comfortable. And then you would repeat back, I'm not feeling really comfortable. So you want the not, the pause, and also, if you want to get really fancy, invite them to have a softer intonation on the second half of the statement. So we might go through a few rounds of these. So you're feeling really comfortable. I'm not feeling really comfortable. And you can easily feel your breathing in and out. And then the client would say, I'm not really feeling my breathing in and out. The conscious mind is great with knots. The unconscious mind is not great with knots. So you do enough of these, you set up a pattern, and you will see trance develop, but we're not done. Because just like with the analytical client, we want to introduce some confusion. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to put a knot in ourselves. So I might say, you're not going deeply into trance. And then you would say back, I'm not going deeply into trance. Double negatives are really hard to process. So you get a moment of confusion. Once the confusion starts, then you can start rolling in with more direct suggestions. And especially after you set up this pattern and then you introduce the knot, you have the pattern interrupt, you have the double negation. You might want to go back to some standard statements after that, and then another knot, and then another knot. And then what you're going to see is the client going easily into trance, because what is there to resist against? What is there to polarity respond to? You've taken it on, and if they're going to polarity respond to the knot, then they're going to accept the suggestion. So you've caught them in a bind. It's a fun one to do. It's very quick. We talk about it in our Hypno Games for Hypno Junkies book if you want another description of it or a pictorial representation. We often teach it at a lot of our Hypno Games for Hypno Junkies workshops at different conferences. So if you've seen us at HT Live or IACT or Mid-America, you may have come across this one as well. It's a fun one to do, and you can create really positive change. Remember, we don't want to take away a polarity response. We just want to use it for the client's benefit. So we can use it for the induction. And then during the change process, I'll often bring that back in. And as long as I've made them consciously aware of it at some point prior to that, so they know that they have it as a skill, I'm going to introduce it into the process so that they can start to use it for themselves and start using it in the specific time and place that's useful for them. But I think that's it for today. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share, do other YouTube-y things with this video. And thanks so much. See you in the next video.